Anybody paying over $1 million a year shouldn't have a problem with at least 30% of that going to taxes. Let's accept that for a moment. Lingering out there is if you did that, then all of our problems would be solved. If you taxed all the people roughly what the Office of Budget in Washington has estimated, that would generate about $47 billion in revenue over about the same period of time that we will be $3 or $4 trillion in debt.
Excuse me, 7.
I'm trying to be conservative. I knew that number, but if I said 7, somebody would have found a lower number and they said liar, liar. So it's
It's their number.
It's fair to say that it's a multiple of more than 5. So, or 10, or 20. So there's no way you can get there. And that's a part of this unproductive discourse that I'm talking about. $47 billion over the same period of time doesn't fix $4 to $7 trillion of debt that every single one of you who are productive, making money and paying taxes will have to pay. So I think we just need to get people to think about what they're doing and recognize that it's not a sustainable model. And in order to sustain it, our system will necessarily have to change. And for the past couple of hundred years, I've been pretty satisfied with this system. And I think if we mess around with that, it could go the way of other societies versus continuing to be the greatest nation on earth.
You saying pay the communists and get over it?
No. No.
You just said that.
No, you said that. What I said, sir, was that you have to fix the problem. And if all you do is say something that shuts them down, you're less likely to make the ground that we need to make to let folks know government needs to be limited. It needs to provide for our protection. It needs to provide for our education. It needs to provide for free markets and little else.
Yes, you can do this all as well.
Well, that's the best I can do. Tie's still for sale. Now you're doing the cleanup.
Thank you for taking my question. I saw Governor Perdue on the television talking about increasing taxes, state sales tax, to help education. What has happened to the lottery and why is it not taking care of the expense of education?
There's a couple of things in there. One, the governor is on I saw it characterized in the newspaper. This is not my term. It was in either the Charlotte Observer or the Raleigh News and Observer, said the governor is on a raise taxes tour. And her goal is to try and increase the sales tax by 0.75 cents, which I think would raise somewhere on the order of about $800 million. No other meaningful plan for how that gets better spent and how it actually improves education. It's more building the thesis that everything was fine on June 30th of last year, we just want to spend more money. And so I'll be very curious to see about the specific recommendations that can be put in the light of day and see if there's anything meaningful there that we need to act on. I'm not in favor of raising the sales tax. Not yet. Maybe not ever, but certainly not yet. And why I say yet, because someday I may be able to come in the room and say, ladies and gentlemen, it's as good as it gets. We've got a system that makes sense, and by being able to put more money into it, we'll produce better outcomes. But we're not there yet, and we've got a ways to go. Now on the lottery funds have from time to time, the governor referred to a budget crisis back in 2009 as it was about $70 million. It was a bucket of money. She used that. She was quoted in the press. I think that was the News and Observer. And I have a constitutional obligation to balance the budget. So the governor has clearly indicated that when she needs to balance the budget, she'll take funds that were supposed to go to education and use it for some other purpose. Now, for those of you who don't follow legislature as closely as others, the lottery funds are used for capital primarily. So that's to build the buildings.
Right.
A part of what we're debating right now in terms of the debate are operational funds that pay the salary. It could, and that's something we've talked about. But more important, we think that there need to be laws that obviously could be repealed by future legislatures, but really strict barriers to how that money can be spent. At the same time, you have to be careful because they can still kind of move money around. So they say, okay, this money went there. Now, over here, there's less money. It's called supplanting. We've got to be careful when we do that. We're doing nothing more than supplanting funding, and there's no net gain. So I think that the members' support changes in the law if that's what's necessary to make sure that future legislatures would have to pass a public act saying, no, we want to use it for other purposes, which I think would be unpopular. The year before last, I filed a bill, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, to rename the education lottery to the lottery. And when I had somebody in the press ask me why I did that, I said, well, because the lottery that's sometimes used for education, sometimes to balance the budget, and other times for other purposes, was too much text to put on a scratch ticket. But I was trying to, he laughs at all my jokes.
They're good ones.
That's why I always invite him. No, the point is, folks, the lottery was a highly contentious matter. It only got out of the Senate because of games being played. There was not a majority will of the members to go after it. But once it went onto the ballot, people said, this is how we get more schools. This is how the children have more capacity. And that's how the lottery got passed. If the ballot measure had said something like, well, we may use it for education or other stuff, it passed by a narrow margin, it wouldn't have passed. And so I think, as a part of living up to our promises to the taxpayers and the people who voted for that, then we need to get to that way of thinking. Well, I think I'm getting the hook here. I wanted to run a little bit over since we went a little bit over on food, so I think we're right at maybe an hour and 10 minutes in discussion. I appreciate your indulgence and I don't know about you all, but coming to a political where people kind of laugh and some people may be mad, but they feel like sure is the sort of stuff I'd like to see across this state and across this nation. And I hope, if nothing else, if you go to another meeting, whether you're on the pro side of the person speaking, side, if you see people going astray, really giving you a chance to show you some respect, stand up and let that be your question. It's being run in a respectful, productive way that all of us can benefit from. And so, you coming. Enjoyed being back in Asheville for the time over the last 6 months, and don't leave without taking a cookie or something, because if you don't, I probably will. Thank you.